You are involved in a coast action on urban geology, 29 countries involved. What was the main background for this action?
The background came from a group of geological surveys in northwestern Europe who recognised the increasing need for their data and knowledge in relation to urban areas, and they felt that there was a lot, first of all, that they could learn from each other, and then it became quite clear that there was a wider possibility that by getting involved in a European cost action, cooperation in science and technology, that we could engage with other activities that were going on across Europe and actually encourage other geological surveys to take a similarly enlightened view, perhaps, of the importance of urban areas to a geological survey organisation.
So far, what in concrete have you done? What have you experienced?
Well, we've expanded the network very substantially from the original small core group, and we've now got 29 countries involved. But importantly, it's not just geological survey organisations who are involved in this. We've engaged with city partners across Europe, some of Europe's biggest cities and some of Europe's smaller cities, because we're interested in a whole range of opportunities in relation to urban environments. And we've been very encouraged with the extent to which the cities themselves have been buying into the process. We've got them involved in our decision-making structure within the cost action, not simply receiving the benefits from it, but actually guiding the direction that we take. And that's really encouraging, because this is helping to guide the strategies of organisations such as my own, the British Geological Survey, or NGU here in Norway, or TNO in the Netherlands, and so on.
What have you achieved?
Well, we think we've achieved a lot. By establishing working partnerships, we've actually initiated a series of national exemplar projects in cities such as Rotterdam and Glasgow, Odense in Denmark, Oslo in Norway, where real work is now being undertaken, where the geological surveys are working closely with the city partners, and they're actually developing improved understanding of the subsurface first of all, so that can then be conveyed and translated into a form of information which is useful and usable by the city itself. So we don't expect the city to be geological experts, so that is our role, to translate what we understand and learn about the city into their language, so it could be used for planning, development and regeneration projects and so on.
Is that what you call bridging the gap between the science and the decision makers?
Very much so. It's creating a dialogue between organisations that don't traditionally talk to each other. Geological surveys don't necessarily talk directly to city authorities, the people who manage and plan our cities. But by creating this dialogue, it enables us to transfer our knowledge and understanding into much more usable and useful forms. Forms which will help to make cities of the future sustainable, drivers for economic development and growth, and better places to live, healthier places to live.
A concrete example from Britain is the ASK project in the Glasgow trial, the network.
Yes.
Tell us something about that.
The ASK Ask, as it's called, is a way of encouraging people to work together. In the UK, we don't demand that subsurface information is transferred from the private sector to the public sector. In some countries they do. The Netherlands, for example, has legislation that requires this. But in the UK, we operate on a voluntary basis. The Ask network has brought together a whole range of private sector practitioners, consultants, contractors, even the developers they work for, together with the local authorities and the people who regulate the activities of the whole community, the environment agencies, with the Geological Survey organisation. And by working together, what we've created is essentially a virtuous circle, whereby the private sector, who produce most of the subsurface information within a city environment on the basis of boreholes and excavations, are transferring this in a very useful and usable digital format to the Geological Survey, which then becomes the archive. Essentially, we become the data manager for the city. In that form, we can then service it back to the user community, so everybody essentially has access to everything. And that's working very well. And it also enables us to produce better understanding, better modelling of the subsurface of the city. We have access to all the data in the right digital forms. It makes things possible which otherwise would be prohibitively expensive and too time consuming.
Now we're talking about concrete project, one of them in one city.
Yes.
From your point of view, from BGS, how is the focus now on underground problems and resources in Britain nationwide?
It's increasing all the time. Glasgow is, of course, within Scotland, and what we're doing is encouraging the devolved government within Scotland to recognise the opportunities of subsurface planning. Glasgow City Council themselves are taking a lead with that and encouraging other local authorities to do likewise, and encouraging the devolved government in Scotland to take a similar approach. We've cascaded this approach to colleagues working in Wales. The Welsh Assembly government is another devolved government within the UK, and colleagues within Northern Ireland are also doing likewise. Now, we believe with creating a critical mass within the devolved parts of the UK, it will then encourage central government within the UK, which is a much bigger challenge, much bigger task, to start to take the same opportunities seriously, essentially to influence policy at the highest level. And that's the real goal, and we think it's an achievable goal.
Why do you think this will be a more and more important issue in the future?
Because with increasing urbanisation of the UK's population, of the global population, there's more and more pressure being put on what are very often fragile resources that cities depend on within the subsurface. It may be related to water, groundwater, that people actually use for drinking purposes. It may be problems related to flooding. It may be related to a whole host of other issues. In the UK, we have particular problems with inheritance of the industrial era. Contamination of land, brownfield land, derelict and vacant land which is difficult to redevelop. We can assist with that process by improving the knowledge. We can make our cities better places to live in. We can encourage more investment and actually push forward the economic development of the cities as a whole. This is a real grand challenge, but it's one which has enormous potential dividends to the whole population.
Thank you.